It was last Saturday night in this absolutely chaotic college football season that we had two supreme Goliaths of the college football landscape meet on the gridiron to see who is the ultimate champion before the college football playoff bracket was revealed. Two elites battled it out in the conference championship for the rights of ultimate dominance. Who were these absolutely loaded squads, you ask? The answer is obvious. Duke and Virginia. The best tank conference has to offer. Okay, we'll get back on that one later. Cheers to Game of the Century. The regular season may be over and the playoffs all but finalized, but as you know all too well, the only constant in the college football world is chaos. There's more than enough even in a week where only a handful of games are being played. It just so happens this particular version of the Big Ten Championship is made up of the top two teams in the land coming into this matchup. They might be the top two teams with the best overall to win the national championship, but one season must be tainted with a 1 in the loss column. So whomstuff might that become, you ask? Two contenders await in the golden prize of the title. Last year's season for Indiana was a pipe dream for the Hoosiers. 11 wins and a playoff appearance is something fans would run into a cactus naked for. The greatest shock to come from that result would not be the result itself, but rather that it was only a taste of what Kirk Cignetti had planned for the Hoosier program. He somehow improved over the course of this last season into this one. Bringing in transfer quarterback from Cal, Fernando Mendoza, he not only turned him into a quarterback actually threatening the defenses, but turned him into what we are now seeing as a Heisman finalist and potentially the one to get the trophy. With his tutelage leading a top 5 offense, plus a manageable schedule and a nationally ranked defense, the Hoosiers obliterated everyone on their schedule, leaving no mercy on their path of destruction. Indiana overcame mid-expectations and turned the team into a god-tier threat across the country, 12-0, with their first ever top 5 win in program history, along with their first win at Happy Valley. Those two things aren't the same, but still a major accomplishment. Their entire season wasn't a breeze as they had to escape defeat multiple times, including a legendary 2-minute drill from Mendoza in order to beat Penn State and save the undefeated season, escaping fate off of the Mendoza Heisman trademark plus Omar Cooper's legacy catch. After eviscerating the trains off the face of the earth, they solidify what was the program's one and only 12-0 season going into the Big Ten Championship. It's the first time this program has ever even reached the Big Ten Championship, and it's only the third top 5 matchup they've ever played. This isn't just a moment in history for the Hoosiers, it's a culture shift. But it's what awaits on the other side that sets up the issue. Hard to drop a more formidable opponent than the only other team who is undefeated in the FBS, that being the Ohio State Buckeyes. Also known as the defending champs of the college football world, Ohio State has taken a long hiatus from this ballgame due to their big brother's influence. Yes, Michigan's your big brother. However, they finally got the jump over them and solidified their spot against Indiana in the Big Ten Championship. Undefeated at 12-0 for the first time since 2019, they're wanting nothing more than to keep their status alive with the pesky Michigan no longer an issue. Their offense is pretty good at best, and suboptimal at worst. Led up by the up-and-coming talent Julian Sayin, he is led by the talent fee around him. Bo Jackson in the backfield, and of course the talented wide receiver core led by Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. Now, normally an offense like this wouldn't be enough to carry the weight. You'd be right, but thankfully, the Buckeyes came through in the clutch with one of the most historically greatest performing defenses we've seen in the modern era. They've allowed less than 17 points per game all season, a feat not seen since the Florida team from 50 years ago. It's by far the most elite defense through the 2025 season and has carried the load through the 12 games they've played. But a test would come against one of the highest scoring offenses in Cignetti's Hoosiers, led by Mendoza, the highest rated passer against the zone. If history tells us anything, Ohio State is the favorite in this game by a significant margin in spite of these facts. The last 31 times these two teams have met have resulted in wins for the Nuts. But all that matters in a brawl like this, against the best Hoosier team in the land, is who wants it more. Lucas Oil Stadium hosts the Buckeyes for the first time in over 5 years, and the Hoosiers on the other side come for the first time in history, number 1 and number 2 for the first time since 2009. The SEC was getting the media's blessing, but the general fans knew all too well that this was a game to watch. It set the record for the most viewers in a championship game. Ohio State cares a lot about the SEC, so they gotta feel good about that one. The only thing left to do now was to play the game. You're joking. You're actually joking. One play in and everything is The injury bug is doing what it does best. Oh, thank the Lord for that. Mendoza's back, but it sent the opening drive into a spiral. Sounds like a job for the 2-receiver merchant.
Here's Sayin. Over the middle and intercepted. Lewis Moore. Indiana has a football.
They said this would be a defensive game for the century, and boy were they not wrong. Caden Curry is still making Mendoza run for his life whilst I speak that sentence. The Hoosiers couldn't make anything of the drive, but they still made the easy field goal from 29 yards out. It's the Big Ten Championship after all, and nobody missing a field goal from that range. Traveling the length of the field was a chore that neither team could pull off for the time being, so they gotta leave it to luck.
Rushing touchdowns on first down. Intercepted McNelson.
You see why the general public hates bubble screens? They work except for all the times they don't. Open the door for Ohio State to score off of Carnell Tate, or otherwise known as the second read receiver. Indiana would respond in kind with a Keelan Black run for 37 yards. This would be known as the only successful run of the day, led by Mendoza once again being introduced to the turf by Caden Curry and the rest of the defensive front. But it did leave them open for a field goal.
29, this one from 40, and he missed it.
Never mind, can't have shit in Indianapolis. How would the Hoosier defense respond? By letting Smith wide open, of course, or it very well would have been a touchdown if there were Will Howard in the pocket. The undersold throw allowed Jason Fielding to kick the field goal from 31 yards out and give Ohio State a touchdown lead. In a continuing trend, Indiana would struggle to get down the field, but still get enough mileage for another field goal. Both offenses couldn't get any momentum other than a few marquee plays, and thus it kept the score at 10-6 going into the second half. Before we progress into the third quarter, I wanted to let you all know that the SEC is a different league.
You might as well be in different leagues, not conferences, different leagues.
Bad timing? Maybe. But it's never a bad time to check out the Squidtard merch store for all kinds of Squidtard merch just a tap of the finger away. We got shirts, mugs, and even a hoodie going into holiday season. Check it out if you like. Anyway, back to Mendoza's Heisman art.
Mendoza steps up, down the field. Cut! Inside the 30!
Charlie Becker, as he's done times aplenty, set up the Hoosiers in the red zone early in the third quarter. Why run the ball when you've got the ultimate weapon of clutch ball?
Mendoza, fade, Surratt, corner! Touchdown, Indiana!
It's now the danger zone for Ohio State. Through no point this year have they found themselves trailing in the second half. That's changed following the Elijah Sarrett touchdown. In turn, the Bucs would have no other choice but to strike some way, somehow. While they didn't make it the entire length of the field, they set themselves up for another easy field. Wait, they're going for it.
Quarterback sneak, and it looks like the Buckeyes have a huge turn of events here.
There's Julian Sayan's knee. It's down. You can see his helmet right here, which means the ball is somewhere.
Yeah, let's go for it on fourth down against a strong defensive front when we can just tie the ball game up with an easy 3. Wowee, it's almost like we're playing Clemson again. You can thank the talent fee on defense for keeping the Hoosiers at bay for long enough for the Nuts to get the ball back and attempt it again. It was towards this point Ohio State fans realized Julian Sayan wasn't the superstar legend he was all hyped up to be. The stat sheet would tell you otherwise, but box scores can be very deceiving. However, Ohio State's methodical drive and a couple of ref ball moments later, and the Bucknuts had themselves another shot to score. On this 4th and 1, Ryan Day took the smart move, allowing Fielding to tie the ball game with 3 minutes left to go.
No good!
No, Ruggles sends his condolences. Biggest kick of his life, and it too goes wide left. The writing was on the wall with that moment. The judge had made his decision, and now it was time for the execution. And just like that, the results have been solidified. For the first time since World War II, the Indiana Hoosiers are Big Ten champions outright. They enter the playoffs as the #1 team in America, and based on how they've been playing these past few weeks, they might actually be the favorite to win the whole thing. This goes without saying, but Kirk Cignetti is working miracles with the Hoosiers, from historically the worst FBS football program to Big Ten champions. The talks have already begun about him becoming the next Nick Saban and raising a program to become a god amongst the college football world. Of Indiana of all teams, holy hell. To take down the defensive champs to win the conference makes them close to that status. But it's not about how you start, it's about where you finish. The playoffs awaits in due time. Prepare for whatever adversity stands in your way, because you just might meet again if the cards line up correctly. Wait a minute, how the f*** is James Madison there?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
God damn, Mendoza's a goofy motherfucker. Holy shit. Mendoza's a fucking goofball. I mean, he's a hell of a quarterback, but I didn't know how fucking goofy he was. He looks like Squidtard.
He does. Oh my God. You're so right.
Shut your fucking mouth!